Hello friends, welcome back to the second video of the ownership concept under the jurisprudence. So friends, I Forum Patel would like to take you all to the previous sessions in which we discussed about the definition of the ownership, the essential characteristics which were derived from the definition of the ownership and also the subject matter of the ownership. Now my friends, in this video we shall be discussing about how one person or one individual can acquire the ownership of that property and along with that of course the kinds of the ownership. So friends, let's get started. So friends, as I posed the first question that how can one individual acquire the ownership over any property? So that would come to the question that there are certain modes of acquisitions. Now ownership may be acquired, as you can see it on the screen, in two different ways. The first is that the ownership may be acquired over a thing which has no owner. Such things are known as res nullius and the ownership may be acquired by the possession itself. That means, my friend, what if I'm going on a road and I found something lying on the street? For an example, this pencil. I picked up the pencil, now it is in my possession. If it is ownerless at the point of the time, I would become the owner. So that would be one of the modes of the acquisitions. Now the second mode is that there may be things which are already owned by somebody else. The ownership in such cases can be acquired using the derivative methods. That is the way of the purchased, gift, then inheritance, etc. etc. The acquisition of the ownership, unlike possession, has to be done strictly by the lawful means. Then this means, my friends, that as I was talking about my phone, if I have the ownership of my phone and if I want to transfer that ownership, or if for an example A wants to buy that phone, then A needs to purchase that phone from me, or rather I can gift that phone to him also, or rather that person can have the property in the inheritance. That means, my friends, that the modes of the acquisition are basically two. One, when the property is ownerless, and the other is that the property has an owner. So if it has an owner, then the lawful transfer derivative methods needs to be used for the acquisition of that property. Now when we are talking about this kind of acquisition of the property, that would pose a question that what are the different kinds of the ownership? Of course there will be different kinds of the ownership. So let's discuss about the different kinds of the ownership. So friends, as you can see on the screen, there are 7 important or rather essential kind of the ownerships. The first is the corporeal and incorporeal ownership. Second is the trust and beneficial ownership. Third is legal and equitable ownership, vested and contingent, common ownership and joint ownership, and absolute and limited ownership. Now my friends, why do we have these kinds of the ownership? Why do we need to have all these different kinds for the ownership concept? Friends, sometimes the possession or rather the things that we own are in different statuses. So, when we are stating that those statuses needs to be decided along with the other derivating factors, then on the basis of those things, we do need to have different kinds of the ownership. So friends, let's have a look at these kind of the ownership a little bit in detail. So the first one, as you can see, is the corporeal and incorporeal ownership. The corporeal ownership refers to the ownership of the material object, whereas the incorporeal refers to the rights. That means the Salmon's concept with regard to ownership of the right is with regard to the incorporeal ownership. Incorporeal ownership can also be said to be the ownership of intangible things. For an example, the corporeal ownership would include the ownership of the house, car, or any table or any infrastructure that we can touch, we can feel, and which is there in existence. And if we are talking about the incorporeal ownership, we would be talking about the ownership over a trademark, a copyright, patent, etc. That means we do have the rights over those things, but though they are the things that we cannot touch and feel, but still in existence. So when we will be talking about the rights over those property, we need to determine the owners of those property, and thus the corporeal and incorporeal ownership is created on the basis of the same things. So the next kind of the ownership, my friends, are the trust and the beneficial ownership. Now I hope you only have heard the name of the trust itself and the beneficiary, of course. The subject matter of such ownership consists of the property owned by two people wherein one person is obligated to use it under such an obligation which is called as the trustee, and the other is known as the obligatory, or rather the person who actually owns the property. That means that person will be having the benefits out of that property which the trustee is governing. My friends, the trust ownership is only the matter of the form and not the matter of the substance. So when we are talking about the trust in the beneficial ownership, that would mean that a trustee's ownership of the property is only nominal in nature. He is given someone else's property fictitiously by law and thereby obligating him to use it to the real owner's benefit. That means, my friend, that the trustee has to utilize the ownership rights that has been entrusted upon him, because of he being the trustee of that property. He only has to work towards making the benefit, or rather helping the actual owner or the real owner to gain the benefits out of that property. So he is given the nominal kind of the fictitious ownership. This would mean the second kind of the ownership, trust and beneficial one. Now friends, the third kind of the ownership is the legal and equitable ownership that we shall be talking about. Legal ownership refers to the ownership as recognized by the rules of a legal system, whereas equitable refers to the ownership which is recognized by the rules of the equity. Now, I hope you remember that we talked about legal and equitable rights also when we were discussing the concept of the rights. If you have not heard that video, you may refer that video for further references. Now, in such situation, the ownership is said to be the equitable ownership, where the case that the law does not recognize the ownership due to some effect that but the equity does. So that in that case, the ownership that that person has would be known as the equitable ownership. Legal ownership is a right in rem, whereas the equitable ownership is right in personam, since equity acts as a personam. That means, my friends, that when you are saying that you have ownership over certain things as legal ownership, that means you can utilize that ownership over against the whole world. But when you are stating that you have the equitable ownership, you can utilize that ownership against an individual because of the nature of the equitable ownership, that is in personam. So the next topic is vested and contingent ownership, my friends. Now, again, coming back to the same topic, that vested rights were there when we discussed the concept of the rights. Now, all kinds of the ownership may either be vested or contingent in its nature. Ownership is vested ownership when the title of the person is perfect. On the other hand, ownership can be said to be contingent if it is imperfect title and can be preferred the subject to the fulfillment of certain conditions. Thus, contingent ownership is conditional in nature. That means, my friends, let me give you one practical example to have a complete understanding of this concept. For an example, if I am stating that if A is going to win today's match, okay, let's not take that example. If A is giving me, or if A is buying me a car, I am going to give that person the ownership of my phone. So that means that it is a contingency that is there, that if, only if A buys me a car, I am going to give A my phone. If A is not buying me the car, the ownership would be, as it is contingent in nature, it will not be transferred to A. That means, my friend, that contingent ownership is conditional in nature, whereas certain requirements needs to be fulfilled before you transfer the ownership, or rather you give the ownership to that person when the acquiring of the ownership takes place. Vested ownership is the one is of the original nature. So this is what you mean by vested and contingent ownership. According to the same, the rights would be arising in its own nature. So let's talk about the next kind of the ownership, that is the sole ownership and the co-ownership. As you can see on the screen, under the ordinary circumstances, a right can be owned by only one person at a time. Such ownership is known as the sole ownership. However, in certain cases, same rights may be vested in two individuals at the same time. This is what you call the co-ownership. For an instance, partners of a firm are co-owners of the partnership property itself. That means, my friends, that if I am a partner in any of the partnership firm, then the properties that we own, let it be tangible or intangible, the acquiring of that property and the ownership of that property would be of the nature of the co-ownership. But what if I am the sole proprietor of my firm? That means that the property that my firm would be owning would be having only one owner as to me. Why? Because it is sole ownership. So the nature of the ownership also is determined on the basis of the numbers of the owners and the nature, of course. Now, when we discussed about the joint ownership, the co-ownership and the sole ownership, the next kind is quite similar to the same one, which is common ownership and the joint ownership. Co-ownership is of two kinds. It may be owned in common or jointly. So, in case of the common ownership, the owner's share in the property can be inherited by the respective heirs, wherein in the case of the joint ownership, in the case of the death, one of the owners, his or her share is transferred to the other owner. Now, this is the fundamental point of the differences between these two. For an example, if you are stating that it is a joint ownership, then the joint ownership would be given, or the rights on the basis of the joint ownership would be decided when the death occurs. In case of the death of any one of the owners, the rights or rather the share of that person would be transferred to the other owner. Whereas when we are talking about the common ownership, that means it is inherited by their respective heirs. So that means transfer to the other owner is not happening. So this is the only difference which differentiates the common ownership and the joint ownership. But my friends, do remember this part, that both of this kind of the property is the kinds which are under the co-ownership that we discussed right before this kind. Now we are on the last kind of the ownership, that is the absolute ownership and the limited ownership. Friends, we did talk about the absolute right and the limited right, of course. So combining the same concept here, absolute ownership is one wherein the owner is vested with all the rights with regard to the property which he owns. Such rights are exclusively vested in the owner. It must be noted that the absolute use of that property implies the general use, since the property can only be used by lawful means and for lawful purposes only. When there are limitations which are imposed upon the owner's rights with regard to that property, the ownership is known as the limited ownership. That means, my friends, that if I am having one property in my ownership, and if the rights or the vested interest of me in that property is of absolute nature, I can utilize that property in the absolute manner, and that will not be general in nature. But when we are talking about the limited ownership, my friends, that would imply that there are certain restrictions which has been imposed upon when we are talking about the limited ownership. So this is the difference between absolute and limited ownership. It is quite clear from the name itself. So friends, these were the different kinds of the ownership that we discussed. Now, in the next session, we shall be looking into the concept of the possession. So, till then, keep reading. Take care.